Welcome to the Bringing Hope Home podcast. We're Bryce and Colette Schaffer, pastors, teachers, and madly in love empty nesters. We invite you into our home as we candidly share faith-filled, practical ways to build a strong and lasting marriage.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode with Pastors Bryce and Colette. And today we got a special episode for you. We really do. And we're going to take it from our Marriage Builders course that we created a while back that we offer to everybody. And we really hope that you take advantage of our Marriage Builders course at some point in your near future. But we'd like to give you just a tidbit of one of those because it deals with what we're dealing with this month.
Right. We've been talking about communication, and there's so much with communication, right? And so we've touched on, it's really been a masterclass in communication this whole month. So go back and listen to all of those. But our Marriage Builders course is designed in a way to really build a marriage the way that God has designed it, right? And so I just want to give you an outline of the whole course, what is offered.
It's good.
It is really good.
Because it was God designed. It really
was God designed. God kind of downloaded the idea and how to do this. And so it's just like building a house. We start with a blueprint, and we talk about writing the vision, and then God's plan, and then your plan. So we talk about each of those, and each of these video teachings has worksheets and things for you to do with your spouse. You can even get a lot out of this on your own. If you're like, you know what, my spouse would never do this with me, you could get a lot out of it just doing it. I think
it would be beneficial.
Yeah, just on your own.
Don't feed into the lie that it's not just, I can't do it now.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, get it and just start in.
Right.
For sure.
So that's the first module. Yep. The second
module is just building. You got to have a foundation, and there's foundation in there. There's sometimes if you bought an older house, there's demolition. So there's demolition day that we talk about, love, respect. So that's the second part of our platform.
The foundation in there.
Is that foundation building part.
So once the foundation is built, we start framing. And so that's where we're talking about communication. We talk about alignment with God, alignment with each other. We talk about setting boundaries, and then conflict resolution that we're going to play you a little bit of today.
Yep, and then we have design. You know, once all the nuts and bolts are done in a home, just like a marriage, now you can get in there and make it you. And so we talk about design of teamwork, parenting, your lifestyles that you're blending together to make this unit, this family that God's created.
Right. And finally, we talk about maintenance, because any good house you have to maintain.
If you don't, it goes down in a hurry.
Isn't it amazing how much, if you leave a house by itself, how quickly it decays?
Yes.
You know, and the same thing with a marriage. If you just leave it to chance, it's going to decay pretty quickly. And so we talk about emotional intimacy, forgiveness, seasonal prep, looking for different seasons of your life, and then physical intimacy. So you don't want to miss all of this. There's 17 lessons in all, and like I said, there's worksheets and everything with all of these.
Over 6 hours
of
video.
And so, I mean, just
you
so
can
much,
take it at your pace, by the way. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but yeah, there's so much there for you.
So anyway, here is a clip of conflict resolution. Hope you enjoy. Hello. We are back, and we're going to continue our conversation with communication in conflict resolution. And this is a big one that you might need to come back to again and again, because as humans, we just have conflict, right? We have your opinion, my opinion, and there's just going to be conflict. That's part of life.
Right. And when you have this little conflicts, and really it's not, hopefully it's not a conflict, more of it's a personal style difference, or more of the way you see it, you know, and perceive it difference. And when you are looking at it differently, and you don't look at it as you're conflicting with the person, but you're conflicting with the style of how you're perceiving it, and then going to handle it. And then you can come to a resolution. And that's what we want to do. Help you figure that out and do in your life is come to a resolution that is agreeable and doesn't put any of those landmines that we talked about earlier into your life. And because those can cause craters that we all know then can take a while to heal. And those wounds can get opened up pretty quickly. So
I like what you said too. It's about a difference in perspective, right? Because we're looking at the issue from different viewpoints. There's that old illustration about two blind men that are trying to describe the elephant. Well, one is in the front and is touching the trunk, or maybe there's three. One is touching a leg and one is touching the tail. Well, all of their descriptions are going to be way different, but they're trying to describe the same thing. And so that's what we have to keep in mind when two of us are coming at a particular subject. It might be the same. Yes, there's two truths in that. And so we just got to figure out our perspective. Right. Are you at the head or are you at the tail?
Yeah. And some of that perspective is male-female perspective. And that's why God created us to join together to bring a balance into a family. And so just know that sometimes you're not going to see eye to eye with your spouse because they're of the other gender.
Yeah.
And so then learning to listen, because you might not have it correctly. That's key. You take your pride out of it, take your feelings out of it, and say, you know what do I need to learn and grow from my spouse in this situation, especially if we're hitting heads with something, because there's going to be some truth in there that I can learn, lean on, and such. So just know right away, because you're male and female, let alone your other personalities and your upbringing differences.
We talked about the Enneagram, and actually I'm going to link, I think, down below where you can go take the Enneagram test and see your personality. And really that will shine a light on how you see things.
Yeah.
Just your perspective in life. Just throwing one out that I know, a number 4 is going to be more emotional and come at it more from the emotion standpoint, how it makes them feel. Whereas a number 1 is going to be very direct and very like, well, this is it, do. Don't you see this?
And so you could hurt their feelings pretty quickly.
Right. And so understanding that's a good thing to do is just go and understand what your spouse is, what their tendencies are, how they hear things, how they approach things. That's going to be really important.
Right. It's kind of like a love language, but your emotional, barometer and other things with your conflict resolution is huge. So we want to go to a verse of scripture that really gives us an overall picture of how we should handle conflict or any situation for that matter. So go to James chapter 1, and we'll have Colette read it to you, but it's verse 19, and 20, and it's a good one.
It says, "So then, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. For the wrath of man does not produce the righteousness of God."
Well, there you go. That's pretty good in anything, in your job, but especially with your kids, your spouse, be swift to hear, slow to speak, because when you jump to conclusions, usually you're getting yourself into hotter water, into more trouble. And so, the old adage my mom always used to say is count to 10 before you speak or do react to whatever. And that's really stands by in a conflict resolution with a spouse. However, again, with our spouse, we usually tend to put our guards down. And when we're tired or we're frustrated, we tend to usually lash out and don't go back to any of the cues that we have in our day-to-day life out in the public.
Right.
And so we tend to lash out a little bit quicker on our spouse and children.
And that's why, again, we need to come back to our foundation.
Right.
Why we talk about love and respect. those things that are going to be how we're building our life. And so if we keep that in perspective, our foundation of love, then we're going to come at it also in a different way. I want to just read you out of the Amplified version of 1 Corinthians 13. This little section, it says love, God's love in us. So remember, it's not just you trying to love that person just out of who you are or who they are. No, this is God's love in us that we're loving the other person. And it says, does not insist on its own rights or its own way. For it is not self-seeking. It is not touchy or fretful or resentful. It takes no account of the evil done to it. It pays no attention to a suffered wrong. Okay, so I mean, just good foundational things. It's not touchy or fretful. It's not resentful. All of those things are so good.
And it's really important that we talk these things through with our spouses, especially if we've had heated discussions in the past and we see where we need to change. Mm-hmm. And so discuss how you're going to handle them, and then know that, in the heat of the moment, you might cross that line of saying, I'm not going to go here anymore, or I'm not going to raise my voice, or I'm not going to, get that angry where I walk away. But if you do, again, offer the other forgiveness, but also come back and say, I'm sorry, I went beyond that boundary that we set. Mm-hmm. And now I need to come back and reevaluate, recenter on God and say, God, help me, change me, mm-hmm. mold me into this love image that I need to be, even in conflict.
Right. And so we were talking about boundaries, the boundaries that we need to have with your spouse. And this one is a huge one, right? When you're in a conflict, you need to set the boundaries. What are we not going to pass, And so here's some things that are good boundaries to have in your marriage that's going to save you. The first one is, and that we put in our marriage clear at the beginning, is never say the word divorce. When you are in a heated time, a discussion or whatever, emotions are flying, that a lot of things come out of your mouth, right? But if you just set that boundary before, we're not going to threaten divorce, because what it does is, in that heated, well, that's how you mm-hmm. think, and it might not be how you feel at all.
Usually
but
isn't.
In the heat of the moment, that flew, and so then that takes on a life of its own.
And the devil will use that.
Right. And so, I remember way back when we were first married, you even teased something about divorce.
Something like that, a little bit.
And
yeah, you got those eyes. Whoa. I stopped in my tracks.
Mm-hmm. Don't ever even joke about. We don't even joke about divorce. It's not anything. It's a.
We wouldn't even say that to our closest friends. That this woman I'm living with.
Yeah.
It's hard to live with. No, we don't even go there.
No. Why don't you just leave? Why don't you? Mm-mm.
Because before you enter this marriage covenant, I'm willing to commit everything in the rest of my life. This is the rest of our lives commitment that we're making here today. It's not flippant at a wedding ceremony.
Right.
So we chose to do that. Now, again, if you're a couple that came into a marriage that maybe isn't a Christian couple, but now one of you is, or both of you are, and you've grown in the Lord, now you can redefine, again, refresh some of these things in your life, recommit to them, help each other stay committed to them. But yeah, the big D word, that's off the table at all times. Because there are times in your marriage that things aren't feeling as lovey-dovey as they used to, and things start to annoy you a little bit more than they had been in the past. And
it's the easy way out.
And it is the easy way out, and it's the world's way out.
Now, we're not saying that divorce never can happen, right? There are instances if your safety is,
at play
or things like that. There are times when, yes, it is okay to have divorce. So we're not saying that once you're married,
mm-hmm.
never get divorced. We're talking about, if you're in this, pretty healthy marriage situation, that we're not going to joke about that. We're not going to bring it up in the heat of battle. But
Right.
there are times when, yes, you don't need to be around that person for safety. Maybe it's for your kids. Maybe it's, whatever the
And
situation.
or emotionally abused.
Yep.
Yeah,
Emotional
any kind of
abuse.
abuse.
Any abuse is not okay. Okay. We just want to say that.
Right. So you don't, and if that is kind of on the table, please go find some other counseling help,
Yes.
a pastor, somebody that can help walk you through those kind of moments and see you to safety for sure. So
another boundary in conflict resolution, when you're in an argument, never use sex. And what I mean, women were really good at just withholding. If you're mad, then you're going to withhold from your husband. It's like, well, if that's what you think, you're not getting any of this, and so that is wrong, right? And so we don't want to ever bring that special part of our marriage to use it as a weapon against the other one.
Right. And those other weapons that, something very intimate about your spouse, you can't bring that up in conflict. Well, you did this to your previous wife or husband, you don't use those things as a weapon in a conflict resolution or a conflict situation. Because all you're doing is pulling off scabs and believing that they're like they used to be. And, there is tendency that you kind of have in the back of your mind, they're kind of acting like this again or whatever, but don't bring those thoughts up in the middle of the conflict. If that truly is a thought of yours and you need to discuss it after you've de-escalated the conflict and say, I'm seeing this happen again. And this kind of gets us into how do you deal with conflict? And when you see something, don't, again, make it a spontaneous, gut knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah, timing is everything.
Yeah, timing. And so if it is a concern of yours that they're behaving like they did before and it's a slippery slope, then you say later on, hey, I'm concerned about this because one of the greatest things you could ever learn to do is to say it something like that. This is a concern and this is why. Or you can say, when this, I feel blank. And I know that sounds corny. I've used this a lot of times with conflict resolution, and I've taught it to pre-marriage enrichment classes. And they always start joking about it, and they'll come back to me in another session and joke that they used it or tried it. But I'll tell you what, it gives you the opportunity to say something in a non-threatening way that you would like to say. When you blank, I feel blank.
And you can use this even when it's not in a heated.
Right, that's what I'm saying, especially when, in any situation.
Like there was times he was teasing me about something and, I know he was teasing, but I could say, hon, when you say that, it makes me feel hurt because I feel like you're making fun of me. I know you're just teasing me in a loving way. It feels like you're making fun of me and that, you're belittling this thing that I enjoy or this thing, So could you not do that, please?
Right. And usually if again, like in that instance, if I've done that over and over and over and over again with that little tease, she's going to get the impression that it's not teasing anymore. It's trying to get a hint. And really, in that case, it wasn't, but you don't know. And that's where, again, the devil will come in and twist that thought. You'll twist that thought. And so you need clarity. And so that kind of a statement is a clarity statement. And again, it takes 3 or more positive statements / actions to help overcome one negative. So if you mess up and say something that is very hurtful, it's going to take a while to climb out of that kind of a quote unquote hole. All right. I hope you got to enjoy that part of our Marriage Builders course on conflict resolution here today. It is hopefully beneficial to you, and you've learned a few techniques, and we only cut out or gave you a little bit of that session. So again, there's more to offer.
That's right. So the information to all of that is going to be down below. You can check it out. We also have mentoring, coaching that we offer. But this month too, we want to offer our power of your words, because that's what we're talking about, is conflict resolution and your words. And so that is an awesome resource, another mini course. I say mini because it's not as much as the 17 lessons that are in the whole Marriage Builders course. This is 4 lessons, but it has the guided notes with it. You get a beautiful e-magazine with verses and confessions for the whole month.
Might want to print that out.
Yeah, it is gorgeous. You get a Bible journal devotional guide that will help you through each day of the month. You'll have just an awesome resource. So get that down below too. That's going to help you with your words. So we got a lot of good stuff going on.
This was a great month.
It was a great month.
We hope you are just launching you into some great things in your marriage.
Yep. Let us know what you think. Give us a thumbs up, if you enjoyed this.
Make sure you like and subscribe all of this.
Like and subscribe, because that keeps us going. And we really do love hearing from you. So until next time, bring hope home to your life today.
If you're listening on the Apple Podcast app, give us a 5-star rating and drop a review. If you're listening on Spotify, give us a follow. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. See you next week.